This is day 1606 Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Today's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is being sponsored by Bionis and Ezra ben Chanafaigo for his chus for Shiduchim. Kosh Baruch should help him find his zivug very, very quickly. Today we are doing Yeridea, Siman Shin Lamed Vav, Siv Gimel, the Siman Shin Lamed Tes, Siv Base. We did schar in terms of the remuneration of the doctor, the fee of the doctor. So to take the amount of money which corresponds to his having to desist from a lucrative pursuit and the amount of effort he puts in. But the amount of money which he had to pay in order to learn his craft, also, he's not allowed to charge for that. Avedas gufo this is the person who he's treating is suffering a potential loss of his body. But Torah said you have to make restoration to a person who loses something, including the loss of his body. From Minan, as he has mitzvahs, and in terms of doing mitzvahs, it says Mani Bechinam, Avata Bechinam, just like do it for free, you have to do it for free as well. Also, therefore, to be paid, reimbursed for the knowledge and study which you put in is also. But schar for the effort and the being distracted from being able to earn money in a different profession is mutter. This is when the schar chachma limud is when he says to a person, take this and that medication. You can't charge that because that you have to do. Once you learned it, you learned it. You know it. You have to do it. You can't charge him having learned it. When you go to the sick person, have a schar tircha. The house call is a tircha. And so too, when you write for a prescription to the pharmacy, that the pharmacy should give so and so much. So then, have a schar tircha mutter, that is schar tircha, and it's permissible. Okay, it requires much more analysis, and obviously doctors charge different for the very different perspective of mine nowadays. Somebody who has the medications, and the poor person requires them. Also, he is not allowed to charge more than is appropriate. Even if they stipulate they'll pay him a lot of money, because it's necessary, because nobody else has his medications, he only has their actual value. But if a person stipulates he's going to pay a lot of money to the doctor, then you have to pay him that money they stipulated. He sold his knowledge. It has no specific value. So even though it's a mitzvah a doctor to heal, the Rami Kuli Amma, any mitzvah, nevertheless, which is everybody has to do. He was if one fell to a lot of one person, and you only want to do it for such amount of money, and we can't extract it from him. In other words, can't make him compelled to do a mitzvah against his will. Also, when medications, if he already was paid, exorbitant amount, we can't take the money away from him. Sounds like only with the doctor we see the money. Some say, even as we see the money, that pay him afterwards whatever exorbitant amount he charges. However, it goes out saying that if he travels to another city to visit a sick person, there's no question that they have to pay whatever they agree with him. That is a very Siv Gimel Daleds are less than satisfying in terms of what actually our practice is today. Obviously, it would be difficult to reconcile it. I'm sure people have written about it. Shin Lamed Zayin. Be careful not to cause anguish to a sick person. Of course, the Torah wrote Cholish and Mace, if there's a person who's sick and a relative of his has passed away, so you don't let him know. Because maybe he'll go insane or love. You don't rip his clothing. If a relative died of his, you don't cry. You don't eulogize about him. Not to break his heart. And we silence those who are consoling if it's in front of the sick person. They bring things from Mesechus Eivor Abasi, which also knows Mesechus Smachos. However, it's not an hour Eivor Abasi Mesechus Smachos. So the ancients brought several things as Mesechus Lo Yitzal Fanenu, and we don't have them in our Mesechta. Keinim Tzom Etzem Yiloi, because you don't have the entirety of the Mesechta. So this is what it means to say we don't let him know. He's Vatel Chol Shemes, and we don't let him know. And the Chol does become aware of the mace. And Kohen Lo Kriya, we don't make him rip his clothing. Shematik Da'adagos, because maybe his worry will increase. Now he died. Even if it's a mace which is not a relative of his. Also, Lipkos last speed b'fanav, as you're not allowed to cry and eulogize in front of him. Because as a result, he'll come to anguish. Therefore, in his house, there is an Ovel, and people come to console Ovel. You don't let them speak with the Ovel about the dead person, I guess in front of the Chola. It's going to cause the Chola anguish. Even if the father of the Chola died, or his mother, we don't let him know. We're not concerned with the Kaddish of Lomar, which you should be saying, to be saving the life of the Chola, which be endangered by additional depression. It could take precedence. This derives now it goes any anguish to a sick person. But you try and gladden his heart as much as possible. And if somebody dies there in that house, and there's a place to remove him to another place until the it seems that we're required to remove him. Seems it's not going to remove him temporarily. But the saving of the life of the sick person pushes off everything. Kimmel, a sick person who has somebody die, upon whom he has to mourn. If he doesn't find out all days that he's sick, that the person died, then he has to conduct some days when he gets healthy. Within 30 days. But if he knew about it within 30 days, he knew about it. Even though he didn't do full Avelos because he was sick. Nevertheless, it's not possible he didn't have some Avelos. There might be Simcha, diminish Simcha, with Giyutz and ironing, with disparos and haircuts. He doesn't have to do Avelos afterwards. The Kriya, in terms of Kriya, is Barb Sin Shin Ben B'Siyat Shmei, that we clarify later on. Chol is not allowed to be macher by himself to conduct himself with Avelos if it's going to destroy his health. Even a Chol who is not in danger. Be careful not to sit on the ground or to go barefoot if his health will get ruined thereby. You should be careful rather that nothing should ruin his health. The laws of the confession of the sick person. Even though we distance ourselves from causing anguish to the sick person, times like if you and therefore he wrote, we don't mention the matter of confession. Nevertheless, directed us. If we see that he is inclined to die, we say that he should say Vidu. Even though this might cause anguish, nevertheless, he can't die without confession. So you can go, though, this is a primary component of the death process. And it's a merit for the soul of the life of the world to come. For Raya and evidence necessary, anybody who's put to death by execution in Beis Din, they confess before their death. Even though they're criminals, we're not so concerned with their welfare. So they were concerned with criminals, who certainly was concerned with a regular Jew. Achad, who committed criminally desecrated the cherem. By no flood, maybe so caused many deaths in Klal Yisrael. He goes in and realizes Yeshua said to him, "Tein todah, kamar hizbad atzmecha," to say vidui. Was that the bochayim abad? This will bring you to the life of the world to come. Base the people b'chil b'lamalo shizvad therefore required the town to take him to misay vidui. And any way we can pacify his mindset. We have to pacify his mindset. We say to him, don't be worried about the bidush. Many people say bidush below Mason and didn't die. Many people did say bidush didn't die. Because anybody who says bidush has a portion of the world to come. If a person is so weak that he can't do vidui verbally, his vidui should do it in his heart. If he knows how to say vidui, say the ashamnu and the achet. It says similar mato that's best. He doesn't know how to say vidui. Only say emor say misasi te kapora kol v'nosai. My death should be a atonement on all my sins. That's a short form vidui. We don't say these words in front of him, in front of an Amoritz, or nor in front of women, nor in front of children. Maybe they will cry, and break his heart. So about Avera, this is definitely a crime. Live close to find him sorrow, to cry in front of him and cause him anguish. Should banish the women and children who are crying while the sick person is still alive. It's important to say the vida when he's still lucid. The shame of the is not lucid, it's nothing. The vida is a very prime component. Like it says, if the soul is guilty, it should confess. This teacher instructs us that all those who die require vidui. The short version of my death should be an atonement of all my sins. Here, Mishnah Sanhedrin is Mishnah Sanhedrin. There's a sefer which one of the Goyim wrote, which is called Ma'avar Yabok, which is based on what the Kol should say. Mashimru, Psukim 11, the Psukim that say about him, Yesh Kol Mishom Olav, Osin Kamosh Kosav Sham, and there are places where those who stand by do like it says in Ma'avar Yabok. Davra B'Seina Kamoni Kosav Shkabal B'Yodam, the ancient rabbis wrote that they have a tradition from the pious people and people of good deeds. This is the primary component of the video of a person who is inclined towards death. Shomer should say, I confess before you, Kodesh Baruch Hu, my God, the God of my fathers. In whose hands are my healing and my death. It should be your will. Should demand for a shlema that you should heal me a complete healing. If I die, then my death should be atonement on all the various forms of sin. Put my portion and merit me to the world to come. And some of the tzaddikim which is safe kept for the tzaddikim akam v'shalom. So obviously he wants to extend this further, just like the Bidu on Yom Kippur, he certainly has permission to do so. The law is the person who's dying. We learn being a somebody who's dying, still like as if he's alive, all matters. If he requires somebody to undergo Yibum, if he's a brother of a deceased, but that's the Ibum. If he is the opposite, whatever. But also he can't do anything which will bring his death closer. Shabbos. He tells you the Mishnah of Shabbos. Somebody who closes the eyes of a person who's a dead person, it means as he is dying. He's a murderer. even though we see that this person has great anguish in his dying. As far as he's concerned, he's better to be dead. Nevertheless, we are not allowed to bring his death closer in any way, shape, or form. The world and all it contains belongs to God. This is God's will. Interesting. It's still, I'm not sure why it's a koshke, but you're not allowed to involve for him in a coffin and shrouds and kvura while it's still alive. Base. Therefore, we don't tie the chin, not the chin, the cheeks of a person who's dying. So he shouldn't open his mouth very much. Also, we don't anoint him with oils. And we don't close up his orifices. Like people do for a dead body. We don't remove a pillow from underneath him. Like we do for a dead body. We say don't put him on the sand, or on patrons, or on the ground. And you don't put on his stomach, not a plate, nor a tray, nor a dish of water, nor a grain of salt, which they would do with a dead body. You certainly don't say, I've noticed that people start to get prepared to eulogize him. You don't hire windpipe instruments has paid for the eulogy of Makonos and women to lament. And you don't close his eyes until his soul departs. You certainly don't rip kriya, and you don't bare a shoulder. According to the custom of their days, you don't say hesped on him. While he's still alive. That she was covering a coffin in his house until he dies. You don't say the tziddik to accept his death. I choose till he dies. But Kohanim should leave the house while he's dying. This will become clarified way down yonder where we get the Siman Shin Ayin.